Just this past week, the late Charlie Munger died. Charlie Munger was the counterpart of Warren Buffett, of course. Very successful, very modest man. I believe he lived in the same house for 70 years, despite having a very, very high net worth. The man did not invest in living in bigger, more lavish houses. He had a really fundamentally grounded approach to economics and investment, as did, or rather does, Warren Buffett. And so I thought I'd talk a little bit about some of those things that I've enjoyed about these two men as we look at their strategies for investment and life. One of those things is to never try to sell something that you wouldn't buy. And I think when we look at opportunities, it's easy for us to try to jump on a bandwagon of something that seems like it's going to be a really good idea. When you think, well, that would sell. But is it good? Is it something that's meaningful? Is it something that adds value in your life? Because if it doesn't add value in your life, it's probably not going to add value in anyone else's life. There's a lot of things that sound good on paper until you actually study their impact and you find out that it's basically just a scam. It's like these people that try to get somebody to sign up for Amway to be a distributor of the vitamins and toilet paper and stuff like that company sells. And they'll say, well, you've got to buy what you sell. But the trick is, you're going to buy what you sell and you're going to be the only one buying it. Because the only way you're going to really get other people to help you make money is if you can get them to also buy the product for their own personal use. So it's a pyramid scheme, basically. Everybody's getting everybody else underneath them to sign up for that pipe dream of getting rich off of somebody else. But if you really cut through the fat of the motivational speeches and the talk about how they're developing business partners and all of this stuff like that, the truth is, it's just basic vitamins and household products that you could get for half the price at the Walmart. That's the truth. Nobody needs Amway. And so their entire business model is based on a lie, because the only way they can survive is if they can convince people that the stuff that they're selling is better, when the truth is it's actually just more expensive. So it's important to look at the real fundamentals of a thing and say, is this something that I would really benefit from myself? And if the answer is yes, then you have something that's probably worth investing in and worth sharing with others, because what brings value to you will be something that you will also want to share with other people. And it's something which will kind of sell itself, because nobody really has to pitch something that is of self-evident worth. An example of that might be the difference between crypto and gold. Well, we could talk a lot about whether cryptocurrency is worth a lot or worth a little, or if it's some sort of a scheme or not. But the truth is, an ounce of gold was worth something 2,000 years ago, and an ounce of gold will be worth something 2,000 years from now. And what a crypto coin is going to be worth is totally unknown. So, could you get rich off of the crypto coin? Maybe. Does that mean it's not a scam? No. It could definitely be a scam because there's people who get rich off of pyramid schemes every day. But that doesn't make those pyramid schemes have good fundamentals. And when you play with fire, you can always hope that it's somebody else that gets burned. But long term, you're going to get burned. It's like the guy who goes and gambles and he gets a winning hand. And so the guy he beat at poker now has to give him his prized horse. So this guy gets a prized horse because he won at the poker table. But it's never going to be enough. So eventually, he's going to be the one who loses. And that prized horse is going to be, once again, exchanging hands to someone else who beat him at his own game. So it's important to focus on fundamentals, and that's not necessarily just finances, but it certainly could be. That's why, in my opinion, I think a good strategy is to invest money in things that you really know are worth something. And maybe their worth will change, their valuation will change with time, but you know they're always going to be worth something. It's like the difference between investing in something like maybe Walmart, which really is not going anywhere. Everybody knows what that is. And investing in some fringe technology company that supposedly is going to be the next best thing in AI. Well, if it is, that's great. But there's also a really good chance that you're going to lose all your money in that because it might wind up just being snake oil. Or you can put all your money into cryptocurrency. And yes, you might get rich. Maybe it'll go to the moon. Or you could put your money into commodities, because the truth is there will be fluctuations, but people were eating grain in the time of the pharaohs, and they will be eating it for many thousands of years to come. So I don't know what a cryptocurrency is going to be worth in 5 or 10 years, maybe nothing. But I know that a bushel of wheat will always have some value. Next, though, you should always work with people who you respect. And I think that's a little bit of a complicated one because maybe we don't have total control over who we work with. But I think what that really boils down to is you need to have a safety net. You need to have a buffer so that you can choose who you work with. That doesn't mean that you're going to align with your employer on all of your core values. It doesn't mean that you're going to, be best friends with them necessarily. But you can put yourself in a position where you never have to give up your own self-respect. And if you ever get to the point where you can't respect somebody that you work with, you can walk away, no harm, no foul, and go do something else. And a lot of people don't have the ability to do that because they live beyond their means and they're always overextended. And I think that's a huge lesson to learn. You can't begin to invest in things that have good fundamentals when you don't have anything to invest at all. And then you're at the mercy of other people who may not have good moral or personal fundamentals and you will have no choice but to work for them and to bow to them and to do what they want, even if it's not fair to others or it's perhaps not fair to you. And that ties in well with the principle of only doing things that you love. But I also think that that ties in with authenticity. Because if you want to be successful, you've got to do something that you actually enjoy. Something that actually gives you a sense of meaning and purpose and pride in your life. You could know that a certain job pays better than another one, but if that's not something you're passionate about, you're never going to put enough of the right stuff into it to get a really amazing return on investment. Because you have to be passionate about the path you choose, which is why it's so important to put your values first and not to just try to do something that's going to make you the most money or get you ahead the most rapidly. Warren Buffett said that it's better to buy a wonderful company at a fair price than it is to buy a fair company at a wonderful price. And I think that's just another way of saying don't sell yourself short, because there's always going to be opportunities to settle for less just because it seems like the most practical thing to do, or you aren't comfortable with being patient, so at some point you start to say, well, I don't have forever to wait, so I guess I'm going to just go for whatever opportunity comes along next, even if it's not my first choice. But another thing that Warren Buffett said that I've loved is that if students, when they got out of school, got a punch card with 20 punches on it, and that's the max number of investment decisions that they could make in their life. He said they would be rich because they would think long and hard about every choice they made. They'd go big. They'd be very selective. And he said they probably wouldn't even use all 20 punches. So we tend to like to dabble a little bit in this, a little bit in that. But if we really only could choose a very few things, and we knew that from the beginning, then we wouldn't invest in those things that we know are frivolous, that don't really have any value to back them. We wouldn't gamble on the stuff that right out of the gate we know it's stupid. We know it isn't really right. So, to wrap up and recap this, first of all, don't sell something that you wouldn't buy. Secondly, put yourself in a position where you can always do work that you respect and work with people who you respect. Number 3, always do work you love. Make time for the things you're truly passionate about, because those are the things that are most likely to pay off spiritually and economically for you over the long term. And finally, remember to be patient and prudent and only put your time and effort into things that you know have value over the long term. And even if they're not the sexiest investments of your time, even if they're just long-term patience, putting your time and effort into things that maybe are not perfect but good, you'll get a decent return if you go long on those things. And it's better to be long on a few good things than it is to be continually trying to figure out how you can outsmart the market and go short on stuff that if you're honest, you know it's probably going to be a short-lived scam. With all things of value, it's actually pretty simple to know it when you see it, because value tends to speak for itself. And if you have to go through some sort of crazy, complicated course so that you can figure out why something has value, the truth is, it probably doesn't. It's kind of like games with the premium currencies and lots of microtransactions. They always filter currency into multiple different forms so that you're mentally separated from the reality that you're buying coins with real money. So, for example, you'll buy a, like in Genshin Impact, you'll buy maybe Primo Gems, and then you can convert the Primo Gems into some other things like, something else that's an intermediate currency, and then that can be turned into another intermediate currency that you then ultimately use for the gacha mechanic. So you've taken the real money and you've turned it into some sort of a virtual currency, but you've converted it 2 or 3 times by the time you actually spend it. And so it eliminates the easy correlation between reality and, I guess, the suspension of reality. And basically, you just trick yourself into not thinking emotionally that you are doing something that's deliberately pay to win. And I'm not against games with microtransactions. It is what it is. I'm just saying that as an example, that in life we tend to do the same basic thing. We sign up for things that don't deliver apparent value, and then we go through a lot of steps to try to explain to ourselves why something which we cannot prove is actually real. And if we were honest, we'd know that we just kind of want to put the blinders on, because people have long established that they would rather believe a desirable fiction than an undesirable or inconvenient truth. So always be open to the truth when you make decisions about how you invest your time or your money or your social interests. As always, thank you very much, and good luck on your adventure.